Good afternoon, everybody. Dave Neal here with your Rush Hour podcast this afternoon, Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. Here are all the stories we have on the Rush Hour podcast. We've got updates regarding the massive fires breaking out all over Southern California. I'll share some bittersweet stories as the influencer and celebrity world collides with a once-in-a-century tragedy. Plus a big victory for a small business battling Laura Owen's frivolous fraud. So there's some good news we're going to get to today. Plus Bachelorette Lindsay finally settles her divorce from chiropractor Brian Abasolo. What does this mean? We'll break it down. Plus Ryan Reynolds speaks for the first time since the Christmas lawsuits have been exchanged. What he has to say about women in Hollywood, we'll be reading between the lines. I got all those stories and so much more. It's all coming up next on The Rush. As we continue to cover the raging wildfires throughout Los Angeles County, I'd be remiss if I didn't, discuss the cultural impact of short form content and how it interacts with us parasocially, right? As fans of different niche programs or influencers, we're watching, sadly, this sort of violent natural disaster as it unfolds in real time. We just had honored the 20 years since that great and tragic tsunami that swept up people. And sure, there was news that was on the scene, but what we're watching in today's world is we're basically in people's living rooms as we're watching so many emotional stories of families, pets, horses, celebrities trying to survive. And now that doesn't mean a celebrity's home is any more valuable than someone else's, but when you see someone you might recognize, it does put this level of empathy together where you go, holy heck, this is real. So again, all the blogs are covering who's safe and who's evacuating and whatnot. And I'm going to share some of those stories, some bittersweet stories where people made it out alive even though their homes were ruined. Here's actor Steve Guttenberg offering a public service announcement to those evacuating, and I don't think the reporter knew he was actually talking to and interviewing Steve Guttenberg. This is on KTLA.
But I wonder if I could just make, here on Palisades Drive, if anybody has a car and they leave their car, leave the keys in the car. Right. So that we can move your car so that these fire trucks can get up Palisades Drive.
So there's Steve Guttenberg, right? And of course, he was affected in his neighborhood, as the fires were coming. He actually did an interview with ABC News afterwards. Here's what he had to say.
Steve, we're used to seeing you on screen in a much different capacity. Usually it's some kind of comedic role. I know this is far from funny. So talk to me about what it's been like for you, for your family, and your neighbors right now.
It's just been the biggest fire I've ever seen in my life. And 9 o'clock in the morning, everything was fine. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the sky was black and the fire was raging. I don't know how it started, but Sunset Boulevard was packed with cars. And I tried to get back to my house, and Palisades Drive was packed. So I wasn't able to get up there. And all of a sudden, people were just fleeing. I mean, it was 2 miles of cars packed, and the fires, they started with these little circles of red, like little devils. Before you knew it, the wind, which is the strongest wind you've ever seen, I mean, it's 80 miles an hour, and it's a hot wind, and it started just spreading all these little pockets of burning embers. And then before you knew it, a whole hill was on fire.
Yeah, and look, these embers can travel, I said on the morning rush, a mile, but they can travel up to 5 miles, just rain down on dry brush and then spark a fire. There's going to be a lot of question about who's to blame for the start of this fire, who's to blame for the emergency response. That's not a conversation to have in the middle of the crisis. That's a conversation that'll come later. I know there's a lot of people trying to politicize things. Just remember, if you're out there, you politicize things, you talk about the politics of it after. Right now, you talk about getting all the resources you have, and we'll worry about preventative measures in the future. Here's another clip of a man who lost his home, but says, hey, at least I'm alive.
Art collection as well.
Yeah, but we're alive, so yeah.
And I see your wife, and she was in tears, and you were trying to console her. And
at the end of the day, the only thing precious is life. Everything else, secondary.
And that's spoken from a man who's lived through it. You learn material goods can be rebuilt, but remember this if you're out there. You know, what's really important is your family and the connections you have. And like he said, everything else can be rebuilt. Now, sadly, there's a lot of homes in these different fire zones that are either uninsured or underinsured. Here's just a clip just to see the morning after vibes. I mean, post-apocalyptic, just full neighborhoods just burnt to the ground. And again, if you don't live in any areas that ever get wildfires, it's hard to imagine. A lot of people have speculated, oh, who's starting all of these different fires? Like they said, 80-mile-an-hour winds. So imagine imagine if in your living room there was a fire and you tried to blow it out. You know what I mean? Embers would be everywhere, smokes everywhere. A fire growing from an acre to 200 to 1,200 acres within minutes, hours, and again at 0% containment. Now look, Hollywood's gonna Hollywood. This is if you're watching on YouTube for the audio only listeners, here's Ben Affleck racing to Jennifer Gardner's home. Again, you think when it comes down to it, people have these great lives, but when it comes down to it, priorities are just taking care of your family, taking care of your kids, even taking care of your exes. And boy, if eyes could, if this picture could speak, it's a man that isn't worried about his Golden Globes. He's worried about taking care of his family. So I'm going to share a couple more clips here. This one's absolutely wild if you're listening on audio only. It is a house that is glass walled. It's just video that's been going viral. 2 men and a dog surrounded by horrific flames. And these flames, it looks like something you wouldn't wish this on your worst enemies in the depths of hell. And we don't have any update. I'm assuming these guys were able to evacuate, but this is the moment where you go, you know what? We've tried as long as we could. We had the garden hose out. We were watering the roofs. We were doing all the things we could do. It's time to get the hell out. And here's, again, one more update just from moments ago, half an hour ago, of a man talking about how this fire, 10,000 plus acres, 0% contained. Again, this is just one of the 4 fires raging right now.
There's nothing that any fireman can do right now. The wind is so fierce. A wall blew off next to me, going probably 90 miles an hour. Inside of the house is just completely full with soot. It's amazing how much damage has been happening. The water's all off, so you can't go there. I was bucketing out of my jacuzzi and a pool across the way at people's homes. I stopped a couple fires. I stopped one that went, and then it reignited about 4:30 this morning, and thank God I woke up at the perfect time, and I got it, and I stopped it from burning my house.
Heroes amongst us. We're going to have so many stories. So many stories are going to come out of people coming together, friends, strangers. The rebuilding process is going to be long. I wanted to actually share with you guys a clip. I've got a couple more clips to share. Here's a fantastic one. A reporter is live on NBC News, and as they're live, they see a guy evacuating by bicycle, and he's holding on to some artwork. Have a listen to how this went down.
Is there anything we can do to help you, sir?
You can take these paintings, I guess.
But this is like a hurricane in the middle of a brush fire. You've got people right there. Is that a homeowner that's trying to leave?
So they pan to this guy trying to leave on his bicycle, and they go up to him saying, is there anything we can do to help?
Is this your house?
Yeah.
Which is your house?
Yeah, this is our house. Backyard's on fire. I'm out of here.
Oh my gosh.
Backyard's on fire. I'm out of here. Words you didn't want to have to say when you started 2025.
So what happened? Is there anything we can do to help you, sir?
You can take these paintings, I guess. I can't ride with these.
Listen, I'll take them for you. I work at NBC.
Thank you.
I'll make sure you get them. But we've got these. We've got these from you. You come and find them for me at NBC. But again, so here you see.
Taking my
crazy stuff. The guy says, taking my bike out.
See you guys.
Okay.
He says, taking my bike out. See you guys. Bushes on fire. Embers rolling down the street. Horses, displaced. Livestock, pets. And speaking of pets, I got a wild story for you. Caitlin and Tiptoe. hold on here. Caitlin and Tiptoe are a TikTok account. They've got 4 to 5 million followers, and they've got a giant turtle. Now, again, it ain't easy doing this podcast twice a day when you have stories that are breaking out like this, because we will get to some of the, I guess, more frivolous conversations, maybe more lighthearted stuff. But I would be remiss if I didn't cover stories like this that are going to be so interesting in the modern world of social media that where we exist. Here's Caitlin and Tiptoe. It's a lady with a giant, I guess, land tortoise. I don't know what it is. It looks like a 100-pound turtle here. And here's her, I guess, evacuating from their home. And the ending is, as we speak right now, the turtle's fine. The house is destroyed.
Long as we could, but it is time to go.
Time to go. She shares a video of her evacuating her I guess, land tortoise turtle. And then sadly, for those listening on audio, there's videos of the turtle, being covered and moved. And I guess they were evacuated to safe areas. But here's the devastation as the, I guess, husband or one of the people attached to this account share a video that the home was completely destroyed.
There's my house.
And again, it's just a house with only a chimney left. R.I.P. to the beautiful pink house. Thank you for your memories. And also, here's a clip of some of the anger in the moment as this man stands surrounded by devastation, everything on fire, his whole neighborhood gone, and there's no water available in the fire hydrants.
It's midnight, 1 a.m. Our neighbor's house is going up, and they caught our house on fire. So we're going up. There's no water. There's no fucking water.
And you can understand those raw emotions. So we'll have updates regarding these fires for probably a while to come. We're going to shift away from the fire talk. You can just go on YouTube and watch the live updates if you can handle it. It's a true tragedy. My wife's best friend was evacuated. They're okay. As trivial as it sounds, it's so close to home because one of these wildfires is raging through dozens of neighborhoods we looked at buying in. We were trying to buy in Altadena. It's one of our favorite places. And some of these neighborhoods are just gone. Homes that we were, envisioning, renovating and spending our life at. So it's just a very scary thought to think of a life that you could have been a part of. Our hearts go out to all of the people. We'll be back right after this. Well, you'd have to be an absolute psycho to go from these tragic stories to things that just don't matter, but I had a pre-planned show for you today. So we'll discuss a few non-tragic stories, if that's okay with you. But here's a positive story, actually. In the world of Bachelor Clayton excuse me, I'll keep that in. Bachelor Clayton Echard versus Laura Owens. Yikes, I needed a good tension break right there. Oh boy. Yeah, Clayton, there's no Clayton Owens out here, not that I know of. And there's no Laura Echard, that's for sure. In the world of the Clayton Echard versus Laura Owens debacle, she's basically very litigious. She's a vexatious litigant, at least not defined by the court, but she'll sue you. She'll do whatever she can to get her way. And in this case, she did a podcast with PS Creative Studios, then did a chargeback to say, the audio wasn't good. So she tried to get her $350 back. But PS Creative Studios fought it and said, no, the audio is damn good. She's scamming us. And here we have good news. This is from Stripe, the company that, of course, they used to pay the bill. We have good news. The disputed payment from November 12th, 2024 for account PS Creative Personalized Solutions was successfully resolved in your favor by your customer's bank or credit card company. This means that $350 will be returned to your account in the next few days. This is so good for our side, and by our side, I mean the side that's pursuing justice, that she can't get away with frivolous and fraudulent chargebacks. Now, will PS Creative Studios try to, sue her for defamation because they said, oh, the product was bad, when clearly it wasn't. What they had done was they were disingenuous to say the product was bad. They weren't using the right audio. So it turns out the product wasn't bad. Their editing skills were, but more likely they knew exactly what they were saying. So good. Add another win. They're all important for the Clayton Echard side. Absolutely. Matt Damon joins effort launched by Kristen Bell, Tommy Marcus, to help pay people's medical bills. He's joining an effort to help people pay their medical bills, and him and his wife are matching donations up to $100,000. Again, a lot of people are saying we don't need universal health care. It'll lead to socialism. Socialism already exists. People already, but it's socialism of the wealthy helping out privately. And I think there should be public help. I think we should all help each other. So if you're lucky enough to be a 100 millionaire, maybe your taxes go to somebody who can't afford health care, and it all equals itself out. In fact, if we had universal health care, it would actually be more affordable than the system we have now. More on that tomorrow. I'm going to continue to talk about our pal Jill, who's battling stage 4 cancer. She was actually just denied the insurance needed to get a cardiologist appointment, which is super, super pathetic to live in a country that is stopping somebody with stage 4 cancer from getting the treatment that they so desperately need. And for what? So I'll have more on that tomorrow, but we're enraged and we're going to continue to donate to her GoFundMe. And we are going to look at solutions that we can try to get our political leaders involved to fight, to bring us up to pace with the rest of the world in providing sensible healthcare for people. All right, I got to pay the bills. And today's sponsor is OneSkin. January is all about fresh starts, and it's a great time to swap out the skincare products weighing your skin down in favor of a regimen scientifically proven to transform your skin at the cellular level. You might not think I'd be a good spokesperson for a skin product. I got scratches on my face. That's from my son. He's got very sharp nails. They can't help out with with infant scratches. But their products are powered by OS1, a proprietary peptide. It's scientifically proven to switch off the aging, dysfunctional cells that cause lines, wrinkles, and thinning skin. Now, look, I can't speak towards all the science. I'm not in the room with the female team of scientists. It's an all-female ownership group there. But I'm telling you what, it's a good product. So if you're ready to detox your routine, improve your skin health, and look your best, head over to oneskin.co. Use code RUSHHOUR at checkout for an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists. Oh, to be a skin longevity scientist, you got to give this skin some longevity, because I'm an old millennial. We need it. We did a lot of sunbathing. You know what I mean? We did a lot of tanning booth in college. My ass is burnt. We're redefining the aging process with the proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with code RUSHHOUR at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code RUSHHOUR after you purchase. They'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in your health, longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Well, you know who's got good skin? Rachel, Lindsay, and Brian Abasolo. They've also got thick skin after dealing with this crazy divorce. Well, TMZ reports that they have struck a divorce settlement. No more support for Brian. Now, look, we knew that. I don't think this is any new news. We knew this was going to happen. He was going to get like 6 months payments of $13,000. They discuss in the article how they broke up the assets. He gets the watch, gifts. You know, she gets the North Hollywood house, which I don't believe is in any concern with the wildfires happening. I don't believe North Hollywood is near any of the concerns, although our fingers are crossed for them. So she gets those assets, and over the next year, she'll be paying him until she gets to the $500,000 he's owed for whatever communal assets. I'm guessing the percentage of the mortgage or the equity of the home. I don't really know how that all works out, but that's where they are. So they're officially single. Get on Raya, go on Tinder, do what you got to do, and move on. And we'll have to see if either one of them discuss the relationship any longer, but it's been pretty quiet from both of them. In other news, we have Ryan Reynolds. He speaks about the different standards for women while being honored at an awards show. Of course, he's in the news pretty big right now due to Blake Lively suing Justin Baldoni, and Justin Baldoni suing the New York Times for $250 million. Justin Baldoni's lawyer, power attorney Brian Friedman, says he will be suing Ryan Reynolds for what? Not entirely sure yet, but very interesting stuff.
Stories about women seem to be held to a different set of standards, and that is to say that they're often held to the standards women are held to in life. You must be perfect, you must hide your strength, you must shapeshift or placate. But Donna Langley and Universal, they know where and with whom to place their trust, and it paid off in this film.
So there it is. Now, was he speaking on behalf of his wife, Blake Lively? You know, hard to tell. But either way, a lot of people you talked about the idea of the perfect victim and how Blake Lively is a victim of Justin Baldoni. And what you're noticing is that there is no such thing as a perfect victim, because you can be a snob in an interview, you can have bad PR about not being liked and still be a victim. And that might be the case. It might be the case that she was sexually harassed or assaulted by him. There's rumors out there that there's videos that haven't been shared. To be quite honest, I would be surprised if there's evidence that hasn't already been presented in her case against him, just because, like, why would you hold on to that? If there is some crazy evidence of that happening, we'll have to see. As I've kind of tried to re-educate myself and others, it's just important in an age of twice daily news, 24-hour news cycle, it's important to say, you know what? We're going to wait and watch this all play out before we make any true judgments on the case. I'm not going to have any pitchforks sharpened or raised against her or him while we let it all play out. All right. Well, hey, we got a nice clip here about income inequality. Seems to be a pretty hot topic out there. We'll have that story for you next. You know, as we dabble with conversations that involve politics, the middle class, the billionaire class, people are very quick to want to pick sides. Are you with us, with them? And there's been this idea where it's like left versus right, Republicans versus Democrat. And I love this revolution that's happening where people are realizing it's not left versus right, it's up versus down. Up being the small handful of billionaires that are worth more than half the country. And why this is a problem. Like, no one can possibly do with that kind of money anything for the good of the people, right? They hoard it, they pass it down to their kids, and all these other issues. Well, now we have Professor Galloway, who, by the way, my TikTok and Instagram algorithm shows this guy nonstop. He's this very sort of like not theatrical looking face. He just gives you how it is. Now, what's important is MSNBC is a pretty left-leaning program, but the host of it is a conservative. He was actually a Republican representative, right? Joe Scarborough. And he's still a conservative, but more traditional. He was anti-Trump, and now he's kind of kissing Trump's ass. And here they talk about income inequality. Have a listen to this.
To say this is a small government conservative, this is a threat to American capitalism. We can look at a lot of different threats facing this country, but moving towards this sort of oligarchy with all of these monopolies. And I've always told this story. During COVID, somebody called me up and said, "Hey, you need to invest in the stock market." I don't really do that. I don't trust the stock market. I don't want. He goes, "Just invest in the monopolies." I go, "The monopolies?" He goes, "Yeah, Meta. Invest in Meta and Amazon and Microsoft," and he named 5 or 6, and they're like you just said, they're monopolies. Lena Khan tried to break it up, and you seriously would have thought that Karl Marx was marching down Wall Street, and you combine that combination that you're talking about with the fact that billionaires are getting richer and richer by the second, while screaming socialism, and what does that say about where American capitalism is going over the next 5-10 years?
I think it comes down to a basic question: what is America? And my kind of economic role model is Peter Drucker. I think an economy in America exists to create a robust middle class. The most ascendant countries over the last 20 years have been China and India, and it's a one basic litmus test. How many people are you bringing into the middle class? The greatest innovation in history is not the iPhone or the semiconductor, it's the American middle class that beat back fascism in the middle of World War II, has financed and built the greatest innovations, whether it's radar, whether it's the internet, whether it's vaccines. The middle class in America is the greatest innovation in history. And people like to fall back into this right-wing notion that it's naturally self-healing. It's not. It's an accident in history. Typically throughout history, you have a small number of people who weaponize government. They're very talented. They aggregate power. They weaponize government, and they aggregate more and more spoils.
You know, and we live at a time right now where automation, AI, it's going to make the rich richer. And again, if we all just come together, the middle class, those of us that aren't billionaires, hey, I'm talking to you. You might be a millionaire. You might be a multimillionaire. You're not a 1,000 millionaire. That's a billionaire. Do you have $1,000 million? If you have $1,000 million, give me a little bit of it, please. Why don't you? Chances are we don't have any billionaires that listen. I'm pretty sure Maddie Pruitt and her husband are not, actively engaged in our discourse here. But either way, I cover these topics. They can be challenging and complicated, but I think they're populist. I think there's a lot of people. I think we're all on the same side. We're all on the same team and we don't even know it. And then I get comments like this: God bless this person. They're a sweetheart. I don't know who they are. But in response to my comment about the disgraceful man who wouldn't shake Kamala Harris's hand when his wife was, getting sworn in as senator, I got this comment. Dave, check your liberalism and look beyond the headlines. Deb Fischer's husband was leaning on a cane and holding a Bible. He did not have a free hand. If you would look past the headline and actually read the context, you would see that. I find it ironic how Dave will pick apart every angle of a pop culture story. However, when it's a political story, his bias is obvious. Now, I was actually a little offended by this, and we talked after, and they were in, whatever. But I think I do a damn good job of trying to look past the headline. So let's take a few extra minutes of this episode and look past the headline. People have a lot to say about this GOP senator's husband seemingly refusing to shake Kamala Harris's hand. So here it is. Here's the moment. So, okay, you're right. His left hand is on the Bible and his right hand is on a cane. Now, he's standing there on his own 2 feet, not really leaning against the cane. He's actually leaning against his left hip, if you look. But his hands are down, and then they go through the play-by-play of it all. So here it is. He's looking down. I don't know why. I don't know what having his hand on his cane has to do with him not making eye contact with the standing vice president. So she goes to shake his hand. The Republican senator is grabbing the Bible from his left hand. He makes eye contact and then he looks down. Thank you. And he says, thank you. I don't see any attempt by him to say, oh, my cane, or move the cane up. Even if he moved the cane, I don't see any evidence that he didn't shake her hand and she goes, okay. And people nervously laugh and she goes, oh boy, all right, just doing my job. And he looks guilty as hell. So respectfully, I feel like I did go past the headline and I just played you the full video. I've even got screen grabs of her. Sure, he's got to move the Bible from one hand to the other. If he wanted to shake her hand, he would have figured it out. He's not incapacitated. And don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. This is the face of someone who understands they just dealt with a man that wouldn't shake her hand. This happens all the time. He was too busy wondering about going back to his pickleball teammates or his VFW and looking like a guy who doesn't stand by his backbone. When I go, I'm going to swear my wife in as the senator, and I'm not going to shake Kamala's hand. That's what happened. I stand by that. If you think everything you disagree with is because I've got a bias towards the other side, maybe you need to look past the headline. I think I'm doing a damn good job here. And again, we all have bias, but this is a situation I stand by. Case closed. He didn't want to shake her hand. All right. He could have lifted his cane up. He could have done any number of things. Have you ever been in a situation like during the pandemic where you weren't supposed to shake hands, but you'd see someone and you'd do this air pat, whatever. If you want to, you will. He didn't want to. That's the story. That's the story. You can't tell me it's different. All right. I'll be back in the morning. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.